Good evening. Welcome to the Virtual College Exploration for California Students Fair. Just a few things before we start is I wanted to let you know that your camera and microphone are off, but you'll still be able to ask questions. You'll use the Q&A button to type your questions to the presenter, and you can do that at any time throughout the webinar. Just a reminder that there's still some additional sessions tomorrow, so you should go to check out the schedule on the website, and you can still sign up for those. And then a recording will be available. All sessions are being recorded and will be posted on the website. So I'm going to go ahead and at this time hand it over to our panelist, and he'll take it away and start our webinar this afternoon.
Great, thank you. I'm just going to share my screen here. And there we go. Okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me here today virtually. My name is Alex Rivera. I'm a student recruitment officer for the University of Victoria. And I'm here today to talk to you about the different opportunities that UVic has to offer. Not too long ago, I remember being in my senior year and trying to decide where I wanted to study or even what I wanted to study. And I had no idea personally. If that's the case for you, that's okay, and that's great. If you do know exactly where you want to go and what you want to study, that's even better. But either way, it can be a stressful time in our lives or in your lives, and you might feel like this student here who's obviously stressed out trying to decide where he wants to go. Personally, I graduated from UVic in 2017, and now I work for the university, and I'm so glad that I chose UVic as an institution to do my studies at and now to work at, because this is the view from my office. No, I'm only kidding. This is the aerial campus shot of our campus, and clearly it's a beautiful campus. We have about 400 acres on campus, 200 of which is green space. So everywhere you go, you'll see beautiful, lush greenery. We have an old mystic forest that you can walk through. The beach is only about 5–10 minute walk from campus. As you can see down there, the bay that's called Cadborough Bay, a great place to go and take your mind off of studies or even go down and study if you wanted some nice scenery while doing so. So we're located on Vancouver Island, surrounded by the water, the natural environment. That, combined with our state-of-the-art facilities, really does create an extraordinary academic environment. So we have natural environment surrounding us, right, which really does shape not just what we learn, but how we learn. So we're leaders in marine biology, environmental studies, climate change, those types of things we take very seriously at UVic, and we are global leaders in those types of programs. Our community as well really does help create the extraordinary environment that we have. We have students from all around the world with more than 100 different nationalities being represented on campus. We have 15% of our students are international students. And so this community really does bring diverse backgrounds, different sort of ideas and stuff into the classroom. It's very diverse, very culturally a great place for international students. The university itself is a mid-sized university by Canadian standards. So we have about 22,000 students, just under 19,000 of which are undergraduate students. So we are predominantly an undergraduate institution. We do have many graduate programs, and we are a very research-intensive school. So we're actually one of the top 3 comprehensive universities in Canada. And actually, we're ranked #1 for grads employability for comprehensive universities in Canada. And I'll talk a little bit more about why that is a little bit later on in the presentation when I talk about co-op. Once again, our community is extremely open and tolerant. As you can see, we have the LGBTQ community has painted the crosswalks in different colors there. So we are an open and very tolerant community. So just for some orientation, Victoria is on Vancouver Island. It's about an hour and a half, hour and 45-minute ferry ride from Vancouver. It's about a 20-minute flight from Seattle. even less from Vancouver, but we do have an international flight on the island. So it's extremely accessible, especially from California, if that's where you're joining us from. San Francisco is only about a 2-hour flight. Now, the city of Victoria is a beautiful city. We're the capital of British Columbia. We have the beautiful legislature building downtown, as you can see depicted in this image. Right across from the Capitol building is the Inner Harbor, where when COVID isn't a thing, we have cruise ships stopping and tourists getting off, and there's a big hustle and bustle in the city, which is nice. People taking advantage of all the amazing restaurants that we have. We actually have the second most restaurants in North America per capita, second to San Francisco. There's tons of great things to do downtown. This is Fisherman's Wharf here, where there's some cool houseboats that you can go down and take a look at. There's also some great seafood restaurants. I myself have lived here for 7 years, and I still find myself going down to Fisherman's Wharf at least once a year to take a look and be a tourist in my own town, if you will. Victoria also has a great art scene. So we have tons of concerts, music festivals. This, for example, is the annual Canada Day festival that we usually hold. We have thousands of people coming in from all over the mainland, Vancouver, all over the Vancouver Island, joining us for the festivities. We have art galleries downtown, a beautiful museum. The city itself doesn't really lack anything. You don't need to go to Vancouver or to other cities to do any shopping or anything like that. Tons of great shopping, boutique stores, all sorts of stuff on the island. The island itself, or Victoria, the population is just under 400,000. So it is a smaller city, and we are the sunniest major city in the province. So we get 50% less rain than Vancouver and 25% less rain than Seattle. So if you've heard that the West Coast is very wet and rainy, it definitely can be, but we're definitely getting a lot less rain than in Vancouver and other places. The average temperature in Victoria is about 72 degrees Fahrenheit in the summer and about 46 degrees Fahrenheit in the winter. Now, this all lets you live the West Coast lifestyle year round, right? So you can study at the beach into late fall, early spring, spend your days paddleboarding, surfing, exploring the island. You can go skiing up at Mount Washington, then and in the same day drive to Tofino and go surfing. Something that I personally haven't done yet, but would be cool to check off the bucket list for sure. So you'll definitely stay busy outside of the classroom as one of the students or as a student at the University of Victoria. Just living in Victoria allows you to do so much. But we also like to keep our students very busy inside of the classroom. We strongly believe in dynamic learning at UVic, which is marketing lingo for hands-on learning. So a lot of your classrooms will look something like a digital media lab, like these students here who are obviously contemplating whatever this image is, discussing with their professor in small groups of 4 or 5 students. We also, a lot of our marine biology or ocean sciences students are able to interact with marine wildlife or marine life on a regular basis. In fact, you can go and do a full semester at one of our marine research centers on Vancouver Island. And I'll talk a little bit about that in a little bit as well. So lots of classroom hands-on experiences. If you're in the fine arts faculty, you might be in an art gallery taking a look at the different art. Now, I would be lying to say that we don't have your typical lecture halls, because we definitely do. This, for example, is an image of one of our largest lecture halls on campus. I think it seats about 200 students. If that sounds like a lot of students, that's because it is. But don't worry, if you are in a classroom of this size, you'll be broken up into smaller groups throughout the week, and they're called tutorials or labs, where you dive into what you're learning in the classroom a little bit more in depth. You get to talk about the subjects more intimately with the professor, or maybe his research assistants, or maybe his teacher's assistants. But once again, your classroom might look something like one of these digital media labs, or possibly an art gallery. I just wanted to mention, with our classes being totally online this year from January or from September until the end of the year, we have invested in technologies that allow our students to learn on different platforms like Zoom. This, for example, is one of our professors using a mirrored board for calculations so that students can follow along in real time, watching how the calculations are being done. It mirrors the image so that students can see exactly what's going on. So we definitely have invested in those technologies, knowing that that it's very important for our students to be able to engage and learn online. Now, all of these classrooms are led by world-class professors. So this is an example of one of our professors, Stephanie Willerth, and she brings 3D printing into the classroom. This year, she focused on 3D printing medical masks for the Vancouver Island Health Authority and for different medical places on Vancouver Island. So she 3D printed these, and she was sending them out to the different places on Vancouver Island. Now, by far, one of the best ways to get hands-on experience at UVic is through the co-op education program. For those of you who don't know what co-op is something like an internship that you might have or might have heard of in the United States, but it's more of a work placement. It's paid. You pause your studies and then you work full-time for a company for a minimum 4 months all the way up until 16 months. So you can do 16 full months of co-op throughout your degree. On average, our students are making about $3,000 a month doing their co-op. So that's almost $50,000 in total. Now, 43% of our students enroll in co-op, which makes us have the second largest co-op program in Canada. It's kind of a humble brag for us. It's one of our very successful programs at the university. I definitely recommend it. It is open to all faculties that don't have a practicum already attached to it. So if you were in nursing or education, those have practicums. You can't do the co-op, but everyone else is able to participate in co-op. And something that I love to share is the statistic. 75% of our students that participate in co-op graduate with a job offer already. So if you do the co-op, there's a good chance you'll be graduating and you'll have an easy transition from academia into the workforce. We also have UVic grads are amongst the world's most employable, and that's because of this co-op program. So we're definitely making sure our students are graduating not just with a piece of paper and a diploma and an education, but also that real work experience that employers are often looking for. We recognize that it's not just about going to class, it's also about receiving those practical skills so that you can bring them to the employer when you're applying for those jobs. Now, these are some of the companies that we've had on our job boards at UVic. You'll recognize some of these big companies like Tesla, Google, Microsoft, Facebook. We also have local companies like Abe Books. We have the province of British Columbia. There are many different opportunities and options for you to work for a variety of different companies. And like I said, you can do 4-month co-op terms and you can do 16 months in total. So you could do 4 different co-ops with 4 different employers, receiving 4 different reference letters, making 4 different connections. So it really does allow you to almost test drive different careers so that you can decide what it is you do like, and more importantly, what it is you don't like, so that when you graduate, maybe you don't like a desk job. You'll know that when you graduate and you won't apply for desk jobs. This is one of our co-op students, Patrick Robinson. He was a pilot, or he had his pilot license, and he spent his co-op developing an app that helped firefighters fight forest fires in northern British Columbia. So he spent his summer flying around in this airplane, developing this app, and he was getting paid to do this. Another great example of a co-op student at UVic is Ted Alley. Ted Alley was a mechanical engineering student at the University of Victoria, and he was part of the Formula One hybrid race car team. They build these Formula One hybrid race cars and they race them against other institutions that build similar race cars. And we've done really well. We've won first place multiple times in these races. So we're really proud of that team, but we're also really proud of Ted Alley. He did one of his co-ops with Tesla, and then they offered him a full-time job when he graduated. So now he's working his dream job for his dream company because he was able to create that relationship with Tesla through the co-op program. Another great example is Kat Kratz. She's a commerce student at UVic, and she did her co-op with Sitka, which is a clothing company in Victoria. They've recently changed their name or rebranded, but she was tasked with a content creator, or as being a content creator. So she would travel through British Columbia. This is a picture of her paddling through the lakes or the waters of Buttle Lake in the Strathcona Park, which is on the northern part of Vancouver Island. And she was out taking pictures for their online marketing campaign. Now, I doubt she said, you know, I'm going to go to UVic, I'm going to do the commerce program, I'm going to do a co-op, and I'm going to work for Sitka. It was more like she applied to a program where these opportunities presented themselves, and she was able to do something super cool throughout her co-op and get paid to do that as well. Another great way to get that hands-on experience is through international exchange. So if you're thinking about traveling, or you want to go do a semester abroad, you can do it while studying. You don't have to pause your studies. We have more than 140 different partner institutions in more than 40 different countries across the globe. So you can go and do an international exchange in Japan, in Hong Kong, the Netherlands, tons of different options and different places for you to go. Most of the time, the credits will count towards your degree, so you can take credits at these universities and bring them back to count for your degree. You don't have to pay the extravagant international fees of some of the European or Asian universities. You would actually just continue paying the same tuition that you pay at UVic. And you get to enrich in your global perspective by spending a semester or two abroad doing an international exchange. Another great way to get a hands-on experience is through our field schools. So we do have local or domestic field schools that stay in Canada. We also have international field schools. And you might be asking, what are field schools? Well, field schools are sort of like field trips that you take in high school, but on steroids. You get to do 2 to 6 weeks of these field schools, or they last 2 to 6 weeks. The first week you spend in the classroom typically learning about what it is, the subject matter that you're going to be studying, and then you go on a trip. This is an example. This is the French department. They went to Paris, France, and they did an intensive immersive French language program so that the students could learn French. Another great example of one of our field schools is the Sustainable Indigenous Economies and Ecologies Field School in Peru. Students traveled to the Amazonian and Andean region of Peru, and they had to become acclimatized to how high up it was before they learned from the people that lived in this area for thousands of years. Something that they might have been able to learn from a textbook, but actually going and doing this, having those experiences and being able to talk about them with employers, with people in the future, will really set you apart from other students that may have just learned it in a textbook or weren't able to take advantage of the different hands-on experiences that we offer. Bamfield, this is a local field school that we have on Vancouver Island. So if any of you are interested in marine biology, you can actually spend a semester up at Bamfield, the Marine Center, out on the water, taking samples of water, interacting with marine life, studying whale migration patterns, understanding and really getting to know what being a marine biologist really is like. So an amazing experience, a very popular field school at UVic, and something, once again, that gives you that hands-on experience. Maybe possibly you're an innovator and you want to build something or create something. That's definitely a possibility as well. This is Paige Whitehead. She was a student, I believe she was a biomedical or a biochemistry student at UVic. She spent some of her spare time or some of her free time going to music festivals. And she realized that at the end of festivals, people would use those one-time crack light sticks, and then they would just throw them on the ground at the end of the festival. And this really bothered her. She wanted to make a difference. She wanted to have an impact. And so she approached one of the faculty members and some of the staff at UVic, and She created the Nyoka light wand, which is a product that is fully biodegradable. It has spores in it, so when it does biodegrade, it actually acts as like a mushroom bomb and is good for the environment. Now, she used bioluminescent properties from algae in the ocean to make it light up. So you've seen those videos where people skip rocks on the water and it lights up. Well, she used those or whatever that is inside of these light sticks. Now she runs a successful company online selling this product. But you don't have to invent something to be involved or to get involved. We have tons of organizations on campus that you can be involved with. This, for example, is the Victoria Hand Project. Students here help create 3D printed prosthetics for people in need who might not otherwise have the means to purchase expensive prosthetics. And they send them or they ship them globally. So they're helping people internationally, people around the world. And this is something that you can do even as an undergraduate student. Now, at the beginning of the presentation, I mentioned we're a research intensive institution. And this means there are undergraduate research opportunities for our students. This, for example, is Breezy Beaudry. She was a kinesiology student at UVic, and she was able to do undergraduate research with her professor on Mount Everest. So they hiked up the base camp of Mount Everest and they studied the effects that elevation have on cognitive function. So they used these bands that you can see in the image on their forehead there to measure the brain waves at different elevations going up the base camp. Something super cool that she can talk about that gives her experience in research, and definitely just an amazing experience overall. Now, you can definitely tell by now that as a student at UVic, you're a global citizen. You're able to have an international impact, whether it be through field schools or co-op or an international exchange or undergraduate research. And this is just a cool little map that shows all the places that UVic has had a relationship with, whether it be through one of those means or another. But you might be asking, what's life like on campus? Well, life on campus is very busy. We have more than 150 clubs that students can join. For example, we have an outdoors club depicted here where students go camping, they explore the island, they go kayaking, all sorts of outdoors activities. You can join the Quidditch Club, which is depicted on the bottom right there. Yes, we have a Quidditch Club, and students play against other teams in the city. The Golden Stitch is actually some person dressed up in a gold spandex suit, typically the fastest person on the team, because the point is to catch him. Really fun to watch, but it just goes to show the variety and diversity of our clubs. Another club that we have is the Formula One Hybrid Racing Club. And this is one I mentioned earlier, the one that Ted Alley, the co-op student, was part of. This is a really cool club. And you might be thinking, well, I'm not an engineer. I couldn't join a club like this. Well, the fact is we open our clubs to all students. So if you were an English student, you might be able to join this club and do some of the communications for the team. Or possibly you're a commerce student and you join the club and you help with the marketing for the team. We allow students to bring what they're learning in their classroom to these clubs and bring their strengths to help make these clubs so successful. It's also a great way to make friends and meet people, but one of the best ways to make friends and meet people is through on-campus housing. So I definitely recommend living on campus in your first year. It's not required, but we do guarantee a spot for you on campus if you're applying directly out of high school. Now, obviously this is COVID permitting, currently working at a lower capacity, but hopefully for September 2021, we will have this housing guarantee still available for students. We have state-of-the-art facilities with awesome dorm rooms. 70% of our dorm rooms are single occupancy rooms. So you won't have to share a dorm room with someone unless you apply to one of the double occupancy rooms or some of the cluster housing, which are like townhouses. I really wish my dorm room looked this neat because mine was a little bit more messy. And if you do come, please bring more than one article of clothing or you'll be doing a lot of laundry. When applying to housing, you can apply to the living and learning communities on campus. And these are communities that we've built for students based on similar interests. So if you're passionate about drawing or art, you could join the Arts Collective. And you'd be grouped up in the residence with students that have similar interests. They plan outings and events based around these interests. It's a great way to once again meet people and to follow those hobbies and passions that you might have outside of the curricular or academia. Sustainability, a great one as well. If you are passionate about sustainability, you'd also be very happy to hear that the largest market on campus, Mystic Market, strives to be a zero waste facility. Like I said, we do take sustainability, environmental studies very, very seriously at UVic. So that's always great to know when you're shopping around some of the markets on campus. And if you are shopping and you decide to buy 2 bags of kettle chips like this guy here, I sometimes do that. And if I do, I want to go and work those calories off. So I go to the Center for Athletics, Recreation, and Special Abilities. This is a brand new facility on campus. We just spent about $60 million building this. It has state-of-the-art basketball stadium, so state-of-the-art that the NBA Raptors, they actually came and trained here about 2 years ago. And then they won the NBA Finals. It's probably the reason why they won the finals. No, I'm only kidding. Please don't quote me on that. But if you love rock climbing, we have one of the largest or tallest rock climbing walls out of any post-secondary institution in Canada. And we love to host tons of events and cool things to do on campus for our students. This is our yearly yoga rave. Students go out in the pitch dark in neon colors and they get their chakras aligned to the blasting EDM music that they play. Definitely a great time. I would recommend it for sure. There are also lots of sports that you can join, whether it be at an intramural level. They have different levels of intramurals as well. You can join co-ed teams. You can join beginner, intermediate, advanced teams. We have a surfing club. We do have a full Olympic-sized swimming pool on campus as well. We have great rooms in the CARSA building for classes like yoga, Pilates, TRX training, all sorts of things like that. And if you are interested in sports, we do have 16 varsity athletic teams. They're men's and women's teams. We have cross country, basketball, soccer, rowing, rugby. These are just some of the teams that we excel at. If you are interested in playing varsity sports, please reach out to one of the head coaches on campus, and they will help you with tryouts, and they actually can give athletic scholarships sometimes as well. We have tons of school spirit at UVic. We love hosting different events. This is an image of the campus kickoff that we had a couple of years ago. We actually had a student jump out of an airplane. He parachuted into the middle of the field and he dropped the game opening ball. So it was quite the spectacle. We like doing things big at UVic. We have lots of school spirit and we love going out and supporting those teams. But you might be asking, who's there to support you? Well, we have tons of student support on campus as well. I definitely recommend visiting academic advising at least once a year because they'll make sure that you're able to complete your degree on time, that you're taking the right courses. We have counseling services, health services, and for you guys, one that's very important is the international student services. They'll help with applying for visas, if you need to open a bank account, those types of questions, they're always there for. They're also who you would go to if you're deciding to do an international exchange. Cultural support exists on campus as well for our international students. And lastly, I'd just like to say, please connect with us. Myself included, I'm a recruiter. My job is to help you traverse through the application process with any information that you might need about the university. You can connect with us on social media. We are available on multiple different platforms, including TikTok. But you can also do a virtual tour of our campus at uvic.ca/virtual tour. This is a great way to see the campus without actually coming up here because that might be a little difficult right now. If you are going to connect with us on one of those social medias, I definitely recommend the My UVic Life blog. This is a blog written by students, unedited by faculty or staff, and it allows you to read the different experiences that students have had from their perspective. A great way to sort of see what students are thinking and the different opportunities that exist at UVic. Once again, my name is Alex Riviere. I'm a student recruitment officer at the University of Victoria. My email is up here on the screen. I'll also type it in the chat. So please reach out to me if you have any questions. I'm going to end it here. And I know I didn't talk about any admission requirements or those types of things. All of that is available on our website. It is a limited time for this presentation, so I didn't want to spend it talking about all of that kind of stuff when it is on the website, or you could just ask me what those requirements are. So I'm going to stop it here, and I'm going to go to the question portion of this presentation. Okay, it looks like we don't have any questions. So if you do have a question, or if it does pop up later on, actually, is there any financial aid available for international students? Yeah, so we do offer a $10,000 entrance scholarship. It is merit-based. You don't have to apply for it separately. You just have to, once you apply to UVic, we will do the assessment for that financial aid. It is very competitive, so you do need quite a high grade point average to be eligible for that scholarship. For the co-op, you said students would pause their studies. How would that work exactly? Great question. So co-op terms are often done in the summer. So you'll do your first 2 semesters of your first year, and you start co-op in your second year. So you could do the first semester of your second year, and then in your second semester, you could do a co-op term, or you could continue your studies. And then in the summer of your second year, you could do your 4-month co-op. A lot of the time, co-op employers will want to sign you for an 8-month contract. So you would do, the first 2 years of academia, do an 8-month contract with a co-op employer over the summer and then into the first semester. And then you would start again in the second semester of your 3rd year. So there's lots of different options. It's very flexible. We allow our students to do co-ops at different semesters, and we also allow students to take courses in different semesters as well, so that you can just return to your studies with ease and not have to worry too much about continuing with the program or the courses that you need for your degree. And I forgot to mention, actually, for co-op, if you're an international student, when you apply for your study permit, most of the time they'll allow you to work 20 hours a week, up to 20 hours a week. But in the co-op, because it's part of your education, you actually are able to work full-time for these companies. So it's a great way to make some money and once again get that experience that really does make you more employable. Any more questions? Is it possible or feasible to transfer to UVic from a university in the United States? Yeah, most definitely. So we have pretty comprehensive transfer credit program. Each course is assessed on a case-by-case basis. So as long as we have the course and the curriculum is similar, a lot of the time you will receive transfer credit. I can't guarantee that you'll receive all credit for all courses taken at an institution in the US, but it's very common that students apply from the US as transfer students and receive most, if not all, of their credit that they've taken in their first year or 2 of studies. Are there any other questions? Okay, well then I can skip over to the quick admission requirements for US students. So we do require grade 12 graduation, obviously, from a regionally accredited high school with 14 or more college prep courses. We also, for the basis of your admission, we're going to be looking at a cumulative unweighted grade point average from freshman to senior year. The minimum that we do require for most programs is a 3.0. For our more competitive programs like engineering or education or some of the other programs, we're asking for more like a 3.2 or higher. SAT scores and ACT scores have never been a requirement at UVic. I know schools in the US right now are going test optional, but for this year, every year, we don't require SAT or ACT scores. We will accept them as a supplemental piece to your application if you wish to submit them. You do need to have at least a 1250 on the SAT or a 26 on the ACT if you do want to submit those scores. How does being an international student work if one wanted to go abroad? That's a great question. So you would work with the International Student Services, like I mentioned in the presentation, and they would help you with facilitating any visas or any types of permits that you needed to go abroad. You would pay, once again, the same tuition fees that you pay at UVic. All students, most of the time, for most exchanges, have to find their own housing and have to get themselves to wherever they're going. But you would be able to take a course at an institution. I know I had a friend that went to Hong Kong and he studied at the University of Hong Kong. He did a full semester over there, came back, and all of his credits counted towards his political science degree. So definitely a great opportunity to go experience something and not pause your studies.
Okay, if there's nothing else, I have a final screen to share as before we say goodbye. So let me do that. So just as when we close the window, there will be a very quick 4-question survey. Please take the time to answer those questions. Also sign up for more sessions. Check out the schedule. We have additional sessions going tomorrow. And a reminder that the recording will be available. All the sessions are being recorded and will be posted on the website. So have a good evening. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Thanks, everyone.